G. Gordon Liddy was the mastermind behind Watergate. He served 52 months in federal prison, which was the longest of anybody involved in Watergate. His sentence was only done in 52 months because Jimmy Carter commuted it. I actually worked briefly for G. Gordon Liddy. I was a board op for the Liddy Show, which was a syndicated conservative talk show. I worked for a rather not conservative talk station in Princeton, New Jersey, and I was the board op for G. Gordon Liddy Show. And the first day that I started working, I got a packet from the G. Gordon Studios that had this autographed picture as well as instructions on how I was supposed to start the commercials, what signals I would hear, what tones I would hear, and that's when I would play the local commercials. And then, after being the board op for the Liddy Show for a couple years, I replaced G. Gordon Liddy on that station. I think my show was a little funnier. Now, in addition to the break-in and the talk show, G. Gordon Liddy was a very famous celebrity, and he appeared in so many different aspects of media. And it's bizarre how this man, who was from one of the most hated administrations of all time, became sort of beloved by the culture. I'm going to sit on my 1976 President Ford seat cushion. All right, let's start with this one. This is the first time I ever heard of G. Gordon Liddy. I was born after the Watergate scandal happened. Gerald Ford was president of the United States when I was born, so I didn't know who he was, and I first saw him when I was watching WrestleMania 2.
The premier comedian in the world today, ladies and gentlemen,
this is great.
Joan Rivers.
Howard Finkel, and then Joan Rivers, probably the funniest female comedian of all time. Just incredible. I'm thrilled with the check you wrote for me.
I would like to introduce the judges to you.
This was a boxing match between Mr. T and Roddy Piper, and I don't believe this went to the judges' card anyway. I think it ended with Roddy Piper throwing a footstool at Mr. T and getting disqualified. So these guys, and I don't know if you know this, wrestling's fake. So they had planned the outcome of this in advance. So these guys were hired just to be announced. So we are celebrities that are going to sit at ringside. They do not have to keep score, and they're just saying their names, and then that's and what's maybe even funnier is they didn't let the celebrities know this. So these celebrities might be scrawling notes. So let's take a look at who is at ringside.
The man who is best known for slamming and jamming the basketball. Chocolate Thunder, Daryl Dawkins.
There's Cab Calloway. I guarantee Cab Calloway did not write down any notes.
Third judge, one of my favorite Watergate
Now this is interesting. Watch this. One of my favorite Watergate judges. There you go. Okay, so she announces G. Gordon. Now watch this. G. Gordon comes into the ring, and I look at my dad. I'm like, who the heck is this guy?
Now someone I have been dying to meet. The timekeeper.
So here is Herb. This was a weird promotion that Burger King was doing where they had Herb, this guy who was like a weird nerd who would go to Burger King because you could spot him there and make a fortune, but he had never eaten Burger King. So he's been to Burger King a bunch. He hangs out at Burger King. You could spot him and win a prize, but according to the commercials, he's the last person out there that has never tried a Burger King burger.
Because the first person to spot Herb in each restaurant wins $5,000, and everybody there gets a chance at $1 million and a free Whopper and Pepsi. Spot Herb at Burger King.
That was the promotion. It was a very successful promotion, and this is probably the culmination of the Herb story. Now, Liddy did a promo for WrestleMania to tell everybody what he was going to do when he appeared there, and let's take a look at that.
Gordon Liddy. On the 7th of April at WrestleMania 2, I'm going to be the judge. And with 7 felony convictions, I certainly know how to judge. I've been judged enough myself. I also know wrestling. In prep school, I was a silver medalist. I take it seriously.
So we talked about G. Gordon Liddy's time as a talk show host. Here's an ad for his talk show.
What you are about to see may be slightly disturbing, and it's extremely contagious. Now that I have your attention,
G. Gordon Liddy, middays 10 to 1. John DeBella, afternoons 3 to 5. Michael Smerconish, afternoons 5 to 7. Turn on Talk Radio 1210 AM. WP.
So we get the
What you're
warning.
about to see may be slightly disturbing, and it's extremely contagious.
And then,
Now
okay,
that
so
I have your
she's bald.
attention,
G. Gordon Liddy, middays
And
10 to
then
1.
they're just bald.
John
All right,
DeBella,
so they're all
afternoons
bald.
3
He
to
was interesting. He was very funny. He would tell interesting stories. Occasionally, he would talk about Watergate, which was always curious to hear his thoughts on it. He was very unapologetic about it. He would say outrageous things. And I think, like, even at the time, I was like, I don't think he even believes all the stuff he's saying, because he felt like he would just come on the air and be like, what will make everyone upset today? And boy, he did. I got to tell you, I would run the board and people from the newsroom would come in just to tell me how mad they were at the show. And I'd be like, I really don't control the content here. And then eventually I did. And I think they were equally mad, but for altogether different reasons at the show I put on. We're a serious news station. You can't spend an hour talking about the Kool-Aid Man. All right, G. Gordon Liddy starred in a few movies. This is probably the only one where he was the lead star character. This is an action film, takes place in the future, kind of RoboCop-ish, called Street Asylum. Let's take a look.
We are facing a crisis. Our streets are overrun.
There's a war going on.
Dealers, prostitutes,
There's anarchy in the streets.
and it'll get worse before it gets better.
The danger
But it
is
will get
everywhere.
better if you and I and every piece live as an equal.
Police Chief Miller is running from
Only
there.
one man.
And that's why
He
I've come back
forms
here
an
today
elite
to
strike
declare my
squad to
candidacy
clean up
for
the
mayor.
streets.
And my #1 priority is going to be to get back into the streets and into the schools and into any breeding ground where crime and violence and perversion spew forth and strike back.
When Ryder joins the force, his world becomes a horrible nightmare.
Can't you feel it? Feel what? It.
Can you feel it?
And when the problems are out of control,
Oh, here we go.
the
He's got a whip.
solutions can be even more dangerous. Street Asylum, starring America's own G. Gordon Liddy, Wings Hauser, star of Vice Squad, and Brian.
I got to tell you, I'm very disappointed in this trailer. So I've never seen this movie, but I've seen the VHS box. The VHS box, as they normally were, was way cooler than this. I mean, take a look at this VHS box. This is implying, by the way, that G. Gordon Liddy is a robot, which it does not appear from this trailer that he is turning into a robot at any point. It's interesting. They're capitalizing on the fact that he was a household name from being in the newspaper, but for a very negative reason. All right, let's take a look at this trailer for a movie called Adventures in Spying. Now, of course, the Watergate burglary was about spying. They bugged the offices of the Democratic headquarters. So he was a guy that was involved in spying. So who better than to cast in your Adventures in Spying children's film, but G. Gordon Liddy. Oh man, New Line
From
Cinema.
New Line
That
Home
brings me
Video.
back.
An adventure for the entire family.
Ah, there's G. Gordon Liddy. So he's the criminal.
Not exactly the way I planned it. What the hell?
Bernie Colson of The Accused and Eddie and the Cruisers 2.
Eddie and the Cruisers 2. Eddie and the Cruisers is a great movie. Eddie and the Cruisers 2. Eddie dies in Eddie and the Cruisers.
And G. Gordon Liddy
Rumors
of
are
When
that
Nature
he's still
Calls,
around.
Street Asylum and Watergate fame. It's
Watergate
true family
fame.
entertainment.
All right, this next one is from Encyclopedia Brown. Do you remember these books as a kid? He was like a junior detective. This was a TV special, 1990, burgled baseball cards with Encyclopedia Brown and G. Gordon Liddy.
As long as I'm in charge, nothing will happen to your baseball cards.
Okay, Chief.
What's your name? Encyclopedia Brown. Who's Corculatado? Only the best cleanup men the Cubs ever had.
My guys, they've been stolen!
What's our first move? The police found 2 sets of fingerprints on the book. So who belongs to the second set of prints? Just what I was wondering. Did you autograph my convention program?
Sure, little buddy. What's with the bag?
Keeps the pages from turning yellow. Thanks, Mr.
Hey!
Wood.
What are you people thinking of? Autographs go for $5.
He's charging them. So I guess he's a former baseball player.
Pleasure doing business with you.
$5? What a rip! It's a bargain. We bought his autograph. and his fingerprints.
After G. Gordon Liddy got out of prison, he wrote a book called Will. And it was his autobiography. It was not a book about somebody named Will. It was about how he had a lot of will. And I guess he needed that to stay alive in prison. And so this book was a bestseller. I think it's the main reason that he is so famous. And this book was made into a TV movie, which was also very successful. He did not play himself in the movie, but let's take a look at a little bit of the promo.
Coming this fall on SCTV, G. Gordon Liddy. Will, the movie.
Another thing, we have these two cub reporters from the Washington Post, Woodward and Bernstein. Steve.
I never read the Washington Post. I find the print to be too small, and there are not enough pictures.
I say let's talk.
I say we get some agents to plant some top-secret A-bomb plans on them, turn them over to the military police. It'll blow their national security clearance.
Great idea. Great idea, Gordon.
Then string them up with piano wire.
I don't think so.
G. Gordon Liddy. Will, the...
All right, that is not the real trailer. It's from SCTV. That's pretty good. All right, let's take a look at a little bit of the actual film. Now, there's the book.
Gordon, I have a little present I think you might enjoy.
So this is Liddy as a child. Let's jump towards the third act.
Could have been one of two causes. An obstruction between the transmitter and the receiver, or a faulty transmitter.
A transmitter we paid $30,000 for?
Watergate.
Right.
You really know Nixon?
Yes.
Nixon may be president again.
So Nixon could not have been president again. I don't know what the line's referring to, but Nixon had won re-election after Watergate. So he had been president. He was running for president. The whole break-in was because he was running for a president. It was the committee to re-elect the president that staged the whole burglary and everything. He was up by so much that he won with over 60% of the vote. He won 49 states and 520 electoral votes. So he was cruising to like a huge monumental victory, and then had this crime, which I don't think they needed to do. And then that ended up bringing down his presidency like a year or two later. Here's some vintage footage of the guys walking into their trials. So let's see if we can find G. Gordon Liddy. There he is. There's G. Gordon Liddy with the mustache walking into court. Let's look at a trailer for 18 Wheels of Justice. This is an ensemble cast he was part of. This was a wild show. I think it only lasted for 2 seasons and was towards the end of his career as a pop culture figure.
Buckle up. Special Agent Michael Cates was marked for death the day he infiltrated a powerful crime family.
Find him.
When a devastating blast kills his young wife and only daughter, Cates is forced to live on the road as Chance Bowman. His home, an 18-wheeled big rig. His address, 1,000,000 miles of highway.
Liddy used to appear in several commercials, usually trying to sell gold. Let's take a look at this one.
I'm here to pick up Amy.
She's still getting ready. Come in. How do you plan on supporting my granddaughter, young man?
I'm only 17, sir.
What can provide her with the brightest future?
A home?
Wrong. Gold.
Gold?
It's never too early or too late to secure your future with gold. What's the most important thing to remember?
To secure my future with gold through Roslyn Capital?
No! To make sure Amy's back by 11.
What a weird commercial. Here is a clip that's posted on the official Miami Vice YouTube page. This is from one of 2 appearances that G. Gordon did on the show Miami Vice.
It was probably a legitimate OD.
I beg your pardon?
In California. It was a real suicide.
It's like a mob boss.
We didn't kill him.
You know what you are, man? You're a pig. The world is a world of hurt because guys and guys like you are always spooking around in it. You're assassins and you're extreme prejudice.
If you say so, Stone.
I say so!
I like that the writer's just like, well, I'm going to say exactly what I want to say through this character. Then we'll pay the guy a lot of money to listen to it. Let's take a look at a talk show appearance. This was when Whoopi Goldberg had her own show, not The View, but her own, the Whoopi Goldberg show. She would do a 1-hour interview with a celebrity, and she had G. Gordon on for the entire hour.
It's good to see you.
It's good to be with you. I just loved you in Sister Act because I grew up in those Roman Catholic schools, and I was able to sing along all those songs that you were doing. I just loved it.
This is wild.
Now, see,
You're looking at all
I would
four
like to be on
cameras.
How do you get from being perceived as this villainous man to a guy with a #1 radio program, a guy who does occasionally debate with Tim Leary? How does this?
I just guess I'm lucky. I've had a fabulously interesting life, and every day it gets more and more interesting, and I just live right out there on the edge and love it.
So here is a clip from one of his appearances on Late Night with David Letterman.
Right. When you were in prison, what was the reaction of the other inmates to you?
Well, the reaction whenever you go into another prison is always the same. They don't know what they have to deal with, and they have to find out what kind of a person you are. My advice to those of you out there who are contemplating entering prison is the minute you walk in, if someone says good morning, and there's a cloud in the sky, pick up a mop wringer handle, break his head, and then they know where you're coming from, so to speak.
That's the accepted response to good morning?
It had better be.
Yeah.
That's if you want to remain a member of the male sex.
You're...
Ladies and gentlemen, now my next guest tonight is best known for his work on the Watergate scandal. And since that time, he's become a successful writer, actor, and radio personality. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome G. Gordon Liddy. You did some wiretapping in prison, didn't you?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I did.
He did, I'm not kidding. You actually wiretapped in prison.
I just traced the wiring. I had plenty of time to do that.
Incredible. You're like a bald MacGyver. I mean, you were able to put this...
Very fun to walk down memory lane with G. Gordon Liddy. Quite a story, quite a life. Not sure he made all the right decisions, but I do believe 18 Wheels of Justice was definitely the right one. Hey, huge shout out to everybody on Patreon. You can go ahead and sign up for just $3. I'll send you a postcard in the mail. Be like Cheese God, be like Matthew, David Chapin, be like Chris, Michael and Jessica, and Awkward But Awesome, and join me on Patreon. Right now, a couple boxes are going to pop up. On this side will be a video I did about when Jimmy Carter was attacked by a swamp rabbit in Plains, Georgia. This is a weird story, a true story that only came out when the Reagan administration put this bizarre story out and sent out the photo to the public. The public was captivated by this, and you will be too. Go ahead and click here. Otherwise, YouTube says that one is best for you, and I'll see you next time.